Good evening, everyone, and welcome back to the after show for whatever the fuck that was. Uh, that was G-Force, Weeby Goblins, something fun and stupid, whatever you want to call it. It was also as I said, our first foray into Pathfinder, um, and there were some learning curves, but we're getting there. But let's go around. Do some stars and wishes. I guess, and talk a little bit. I think about what we think about the system and that kind of thing. And we will start with Patrick this time.
All right. Well, first of all, for stars, I really have to appreciate Pidge's voice. That was awesome. Imagine this hyper little tiny thing running around like, oh, great. I'm gonna have to arrange my spells to annoy her at some point. So I thought that was absolutely marvelous. And I also very much like the name of the giant spider that many legs.
Yeah,
What
lots legs eat goblin babies many.
Yes, that's just a perfect goblin description of
Yeah,
something that has been terrorizing your community for quite a while because you get really
yeah,
nothing about it. So I thought that was marvelous. The system is it has a lot of the charm that old D&D has. Except you of course have it corrects for a couple of the things with it. It inherits one of the problems that old D&D had as well as several other systems, which is there are rules in other compendiums.
yeah,
So it's difficult to get a good list of like here's all of the spells that a first level wizard could cast because they're across 8 different books.
yeah.
I'm used to this. I was a huge Rollmaster fan of that thing. Like I had like a dozen books of just crap to pick from.
There's a
Like,
reason
oh,
why Rollmaster was
let's
usually
pick a more
spelled with two
unified
L's.
thing. Let's go to Middle Earth role playing. Nope, every compendium has new rules in it.
Yep.
And so, but that's just how they roll with that sort of stuff. Other systems have rules in one book and then descriptions of like items and other stuff spread out, which is a little easier, but not necessarily all that much.
Yeah.
So I get all that. And it's one of the strengths slash weaknesses of the system. But whenever you design a game system, you have to make choices.
Yep.
And so, this is going to be very crunchy and stuff, which works out if you like crunch. Like I'm very used to doing all the math for D20 in my head. So once I heard the difficulty of riding the pig, I'm like, 3 times, that's a 1 in 1,000 chance I'll succeed at this. Well, let's have some fun.
Sure.
Because, that's just how it's going to roll when your wisdom's a -1. You have to make a wisdom check. Not a very wise thing, but that's on character.
Yep.
So, and for wishes is as with any game, even if it's a one shot, I want to one shot it again.
Okay. Let's go to Matt.
Okay. Yeah, this was fun. Pathfinder is crunchy, even in the second edition iteration of it. It's a bit more streamlined, but there's a lot of, you know, there's a learning curve there.
Mhm.
As far as stars go, yeah, ECAT, well, and Ray too. The role playing was just fantastic. So big props to them. Also, thank you, Trevor, for jumping into the big chair and dealing with yet another system and yet another quirky mechanical thing. Um, so, um, yeah, I'd totally be happy with playing this again, especially if we get over the both the system learning curve and also the boundary learning curve for
Yeah.
how to make things work. And especially, I had to choose a class and a character build that has extra fiddly bits.
Yep.
So
Of course.
that's on me.
Eh,
Um, so yeah, the this was fun. I'll, you know, 8 out of 10. We'll play again.
okay. Ray.
Stars to you, Trevor, for world building pretty much on the fly. I mean, not just with the new system, but then creating everything and having like everything that world building entails. We're just rolling up the characters and trying to figure it out. You're doing that plus inventing and plotting and conceiving. So, I mean, I know you've had these skills developed for years, nigh decades, but like seeing that in action, and I'm still considering myself a relative noob. Like that's impressive. That is really, really impressive. It is flexible. It is skillful. My hat tip to you for your craftsmanship in that. That was cool. This was fun. This was very fun because it was different. We accepted that it was different. I think that with my very, very, very limited experience in actual D&D, like there's definitely harkens to that. But if we kind of accept, like, okay, this is what this is for, so we're going to play it for what it's for. We're not going to try to do a cipher type story gameplay. We're not going to try to shoehorn that into a 5e or Pathfinder 2 or whatever we're doing. Let's call the features and deal with the bugs and just fucking roll away and try to do it. So I'm for that. Like, I, I'm starting to figure a little bit as like, oh wait, if I go to this thing and then I move over here and I felt like Pidge, and if I do that, and did I do it right? I didn't do it right. Why didn't I do it right? I almost got it right. It's like I'm this close,
Yeah.
this close. So thank you for your patience. Yes. Oh my God, like huge glowing pink star for Pidge, for you, ECAT. Just that is adorable. And yes, not an every game character, but wow, like that's fun. But actually, you know what? No, Matt, like you are making it work. You again, it's not a bug, it's a feature. And I'm hearing more character afflection with what you were doing and was like it worked. That was cool. Patrick, that's just such a different character than you as GM and then you as is like both of the characters that you played before. This was different. I've not heard that much whimsy from you, and I love it. So it is just seeing the range of everybody is a treat, absolute treat. My wish is that we do it again, but maybe with session 0.5. It's like, okay, let's work out mechanics, let's fill slots, let's work through procedures and stuff so that we can be 25 to 35% more efficient
Yeah.
once we do this again.
Agreed. So I want to respond quickly to one thing you said before, ECAT, before we move on to you. Ray, I appreciate what you said about the world building. I can only take so much credit for it though, because I'm absolutely using a pre-published module. So most of that stuff was supplied to me, but I appreciate the sentiment nonetheless. ECAT.
Okay, big star to everybody, but definitely Trevor for on the fly, since yesterday you were thinking we were going to be playing Cypher, and just all of a sudden letting us roll up these little goblins that we've been talking about doing for a while, and stars to you guys for totally tolerating this neurotic little female goblin that when I realized I was going to be the only female on the team, I needed to go just that much more kind of thing.
Yep.
Because I always seem to play the dour, kind of very straightforward, very stoic and stuff. And I'm like, nope, she needs to be completely the opposite. And
Yep.
she, like I said, she's a lot of fun, but not every week. No, she's tiring.
Not just for you, love. Not just for you. Oh
Um,
boy.
Star to Ray for when we were sitting down and starting to put our goblins together, going with my wacky idea of like we should play off the fact that his character's so much taller than mine and a little that much older than mine kind of thing, and just having opposites. But yeah, just overall, stars to everybody. That was a lot of fun. I will echo I want to come back to these guys. Maybe not next week, but if we do, that's
Yeah,
fine. Just like I'd love to eventually go back to Grimsby and stuff too. But yeah, this was a lot of fun, especially for a system that we've never used. Like my knowledge of Pathfinder was referred to in the first session of Critical Role where they said we've just moved over from Pathfinder to Dungeons and Dragons. So that was my exact knowledge of Pathfinder going into this. But yeah, no, this was a lot of fun, and I'm looking forward to coming back to this weird little group of miscreants.
So for me, I just stars to you guys for just going along with this, because I threw out the idea of PF2E, and I threw out the idea of Oops All Goblins, which came to this. And I mean, you guys have just been sure, yeah, let's do it. And even though none of us knew what we were doing with the system, much less with Foundry, and I have not had as much time to just play with the Pathfinder implementation in Foundry as I probably should have. But no, you guys, it, fuck it, let's just do it. Let's just, roll. When in doubt, roll and shout, and see what happens. And I do think I do think it came out well. Um, I like the characters that you guys came up with. I do like the world that they have established. In this little, so Pathfinder as a system and as a coherent setting has a whole unbelievably fleshed out world called Galarian. Um, and it's like, think for those of you that have been following D&D for a while, think everything that you've ever seen about Forgotten Realms, and then even more so. Galarian is just stupid developed.
It's like Forgotten Realms and Greyhawk mashed together.
Yeah, and this is just one tiny little corner of it. But like I said, it's isolated enough that it kind of gives us that room to play it. I've been wanting a chance to try the system as I sit here with like a third of a shelf of Pathfinder books on my shelf that I haven't used yet. I do like this system for the more combat focused, the more tactical, the more crunchy, because as we've discovered with Cypher, we can do combat in Cypher, and it's not bad. It's definitely theater of the mind. It's definitely less tactical, and it's you get what you incentivize. This system, much like D&D, incentivizes killing monsters, so that's where the characters are going to get geared towards. But yeah, my wish is to go back and learn all the things about the Foundry implementation that I should have learned beforehand. And Ray, I like your idea of basically like a training session, which we did for Cypher, if I'm not
We did,
mistaken.
yeah. We did a little bit in order to, it's like, okay, here's where you go and now click that, see, there's your role, and
Yeah.
using the chat windows and everything.
Yeah, and I didn't get a chance to do that for this. I put some stuff together. I literally threw that together today. So hopefully that was at least a little bit helpful. But yeah, we'll like everyone has said, like everything else, there's a learning curve to it. I would like to keep going up that learning curve because I do like the guts of this system. I like the 3 action economy. I think that works a lot better than the move standard bonus, or even like standard move minor from 4th edition. Um, I like the freedom of it. I love the freedom of character creation. Um, and we were talking about this shortly before we started recording. That the thing about 5e is basically once you've hit 3rd level, you're essentially done making choices for your character. Everything's mostly on rails at that point. And Pathfinder is like the polar opposite. You're choosing at least one crucial thing for your character every level. And I love that because I love putting character mechanics together. And then what a lot of people say about this is the system is slightly crunchier than 5e, and it puts a little more of the onus on the players, which means it takes a little bit of that off of the GM. I don't know if we got there tonight, but that's also because we were all kind of floundering.
I
But
do like the fact that we have a system, though, with Foundry that doesn't require us to do the math.
mhm,
Yeah, that is
Yes.
helpful.
yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
though the 2nd edition Pathfinder math is considerably easier than 1st edition,
Okay.
which I've played a lot of.
Yeah, there's one of the Foundry modules that we're using is called Modifiers Matter. And that's why you're seeing the list of, you get this because you get this from your stat, you get this because you're trained, you get -1 because you're sickened, or what have you.
Which I saw an icon, like there was a separate
Mhm.
icon
Oh, yeah.
on the map that I noticed, like, oh, okay, that's convenient.
Yeah. You should also see that like up in the upper right corner uh, of the screen, like
That's what I mean.
just to the left of the sidebar. There's also a little one on your character.
Do, 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 do.
Like
Oh,
really
I can.
tiny.
Oh,
Yeah,
right,
really
because
tiny.
it's yeah.
Yeah,
But
but it's there.
it's nice that it's there,
Yeah,
especially if you're zoomed in
yeah,
to see the characters bigger. You're going to see that. So yeah, no, that's
yeah.
good.
And this is, and PF2E is just chock full of conditions. Um, and I say that as someone who played a whole lot of 4E, which was also very condition heavy. But yeah, this is I am very glad that we have this for the numbers maintenance. So yeah, this so I think we all agree that this was fun. That we at least want to come back and finish this adventure. Um, there are, as I said before we started, like 5 Weeby Goblins adventures that Paizo's put out. Um, one of them you become super goblins. I don't even remember what they all are. Yeah. So, maybe we'll do that. And, what I'd like to do if we decide to keep doing that is like, obviously depending on the requirements of the modules, maybe have us go through and like level up a couple of times between sessions to see how the characters change as they grow. Because,
Mhm.
even just like from the beginnings of powers that be to, even when we got to like tier 3 or 4, the characters played so differently
Mhm.
because we developed those lines and those patterns of how we developed our characters. And I'd love to see how that plays out here. All right. Anyone else have anything they want to bring up? Anything about the system or anything like that?
It's one of the one of the things I've always argued with is the benefit of either sticking with one system or changing between them. Like there's a benefit for anybody, who's actually watching because they actually get to see a couple of the different systems in action as to how they're played versus how they're read.
Yeah.
But you like the one thing I would eventually run into is if I got too good at a system, I'm just doing all the math in my head.
Yeah.
And so I'm just min-maxing everything as I go. And in more modern systems, that gets significantly easier to do because you don't actually have the random chances with creating your character.
Yeah.
So you can go like, oh, if I take this and this modifies this and this modifies that, then I can kick all butt. Or quite often with systems, if you're really good as a support character, you can make everybody else ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
And like I did that in D&D third edition once. It was just freaking ridiculous because
Yeah.
a sorcerer's ability to hit the same spell over and over again is really handy when you have things like haste. So you haste the whole party. Now your challenge rating is ostensibly half.
Yeah.
For your opponent.
Or you get like the in-game Wave the Wicked, where our sorcerer was like, time stop, haste, this, like his turn would take like 5 turns. And
then he'd go off, and have a cup of tea while the rest of you are just mowing through everyone.
Right. So
Oh, you mean like how Trevor plays?
Hey.
hey.
Dude, Crash is like, okay, I'm going to do this. And because you've got, but again, sorry.
Hey, I did, Jack did some of that too. There was some chain activation shenanigans that
that is
I
a
built
feature
into
of the system.
And and honestly, this is why I like more story-driven, character-driven games as I've gotten older that get away from, not that you can't min-max, but there are other reasons to play.
Yeah.
Like I have offered in the past, and I will happily take the big chair and run something like Blades in the Dark, if people are interested.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Which is a dark gas lamp fantasy heist game, basically, for people who are not familiar with that. So it's all about running a rogues gallery of, thieves and other ne'er-do-wells and figuring out how to make a score. So it's you can do combat, but it's not the focus of that game.
Cool.
Yep. And the next one I'm spinning together, the system is as squishy as it gets. There's like there can be die rolling. There doesn't have to be every time. But on the other hand, there's a whole lot of mechanics for interplay between the characters and the GM for forcing which direction the story is going to go and how things pan out.
Nice.
I'm just here for the ride.
Yep. Well, there's many irons in the fire there for we got options.
All right. Well, I think we're gonna call it a night. Hope everyone had fun with this out there in TV land. For those of us that are old enough to remember that term, we're gonna get out of here. We'll probably be back with Echoes in a couple of weeks. We'll see where it goes. But until then, for ECAT, Patrick, Ray, and Matt, I am Trevor, the Vitruvian Meeple. Have a good night, everybody.